Hello, bats, ghouls, and cryptids. It's Ian here with an exciting episode of Obscura Undead. And this time out, we are meeting with the founder of Dark Spring Boston to give us all of the great insight about what their festival is, how it came about, and what future plans are. So without further ado, I would like to introduce all of you to Nichole Ferree from Boston. Hello, Nichole.
Hi, Ian. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us this week. So, Nichole is here to talk about Dark Spring Boston and how it came about and what's going forward. So, dig right in, Nichole. Tell us how did this all start?
I will tell you, I've always wanted to host a music festival. I've been a musician for many years, and my day job is as a corporate event planner. And I thought if I brought those two things together, a music festival seemed perfect. And I really wanted to, but I was hesitant because they're expensive and the workload is heavy. And so it just sort of remained a dream. But Dark Spring Boston came about because I was in Berlin to see Golden Apes, who are one of my favorite bands. I'd been there a couple times to see them before. And just from following them, I found out that they host a festival in Berlin. I think they've had 10 or 11 called Dark Spring. And I went back and looked at all the lineups they'd had over the years, and they were all pristine. They were these great 5 or 6 band lineups, and every band was a headliner. And I looked at this was in 2019. I saw their lineup. It was 6 incredible bands, and I decided to go. And I had the absolute best time I've ever had at a show. And while I was there, I realized this was the sort of festival that we needed in Boston and that I could manage, because it was 6 bands, no tiers. There wasn't sort of an opening band level with a headliner. Every one of the 6 bands could have headlined their own show. And so there wasn't a dull moment. I just, the high level of excitement and thrill to see 6 incredible bands in one day was amazing. And also it was sort of a manageable size because it was just one day. It was just right. 6 shows. It was a medium-sized venue. So it was a good size that you could manage to give the bands and the audience a good experience, and also financially be able to probably, do okay even your first year out. You're not risking such a huge right. amount because you've got multiple days or a huge venue or something. It was manageable. And so that was where it was born. I came home and I said, I think I want to do a show like this. Just pick 6 bands I love that are all heavy hitters, equal level. In my mind, equal level. And, but I really wanted, because I was basically copying the Dark Spring format, I wanted to use the name. So I contacted Christian Lebrecht, who's in Golden Apes and who puts together the Dark Spring event in Berlin. And I asked, would you mind if I borrowed your name? Because I really love your format and I plan on copying it to a T. And he graciously said, by all means, please.
And you even got them to come to that first show.
I did. And he said, what would you, would you be interested in having us come? Which was honestly beyond anything I ever could have imagined. I wouldn't have even had the guts to ask, I got to admit at that point. So I was blown away by that because I was a huge fan. And so then we planned for them to come in 2020 for the inaugural Dark Spring Boston Festival. And I built we had 7 bands on. They were all bands I loved. They were well known and very exciting. Sounds and Shadows called us the best new festival of 2020. So we were primed for success. But the date was April 4th, 2020.
Oh no!
So you can imagine what happened. We canceled last minute. We were just a couple weeks out, and everybody was canceling everything. So we were just in that. And we were sad. But what came from that was we went on to, during the pandemic lockdown time, move on to hosting a series of virtual shows like so many people did. But we still used that same Dark Spring format where we would only get 3 bands because it was a virtual show, but they would be of an equal tier. Like, let's get 3 knockout bands all together on one show. And so we did that for a year or more. And at that, and made a ton of contacts, made a lot of friends, met a bunch of bands. And that's why we decided, when we finally rescheduled for 2022 in person, to do 2 days, which went against everything I'd said I was going to do, of keeping it simple, keeping it 1 day. But we wanted to invite back most of the bands from the 2020 show that got canceled. But in the meantime, we'd met all these other incredible bands. So in order to sort of prevent a log jam of bands for festivals, we said, let's do 2 days in 2022. And then in 2023, we'll go back to 1 day. So that's our plan.
Okay, cool. That's a lot to take in right there.
Wow. Yeah.
That's so let's talk about some of these bands. You had 2 days. You had initially 15 bands, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
And as what does happen at times, unfortunately, you had one that had to pull out. But of the 14 bands, you want to talk about any of who those bands were? Because you had some great acts. I mean,
again,
The Whip, Yamauba,
we did 2 days.
Shame.
Yeah, we did 2 days, but I think we still stayed true to the dream of having an untiered festival where every band headlining. We had Mortal Boy, Yamauba, of course, Golden Apes did finally come, which was incredible. Yep. We had Secret Shame, Hallows, Kiss of the Whip. Local bands, I also always want to include at least one each day. We had Pilgrims of Yearning. They were fantastic. And we had the True Faith on Sunday. So we had those two. Child of Night, who I adore. I hope I'm not leaving anybody out. Onbre Solo. We had
Onbre Solo. Yeah.
Incredible performance as always.
I got to tell you, that was very surreal because we've talked about him on Obscura Undead. We've done like music video reviews, and for him to come up and know who we were was very surreal. And if you're watching Onbre Solo, your set was great that night. That was fantastic. We got some great, I'm going to intersperse this with some video. So we got some really great video of all these bands playing. They all brought the energy. So
it's some incredible performances, and there's nothing like Onbre Solo. His performances there's nothing like them. I've been lucky enough to see him, I think 3 or 4 times at this point. Always incredible. What a show.
Yeah. So the surprise for us, not that to detract from any of these other bands, but the biggest surprise was Winky. We were blown away. That was creepy and bizarre, and it was everything you'd want in a dark electronic. I don't even know how to describe the music. It was just
Winky. Winky is like they're like the band's band almost. Like everybody loves Winky, and everyone will come out of the green room. Everyone was excited for them. Their performances are incredible. They're spellbinding. You can't look away. It's again like nothing else you've seen before, but it's so great. Yeah, we love Winky. We did a virtual show with Winky back in 2021. Yeah, and those are incredible too. The video work that they did for that it sort of hints at what you can expect to find in person.
Was that what they were playing on, like a rooftop in the snow, or
they were playing in a stairwell?
Oh, the stairwell. So both of those. There's one where they're on a roof. The stairwell one is even more like that. Yeah, everything they've done really good. All these bands, as you said, like each one could do a show by themselves.
That's right.
And it was just great. So yeah, you've talked about, now you hinted at this, that next year you're looking to bring it down to 1 day. Is that right? So
that's right. I plan to stay true to the original vision and just usually do 1 day, six-ish bands, 5, 6, 7 bands, but all equally standalone, could hold up a show themselves level bands. There's no shortage of those. Yeah. We have, and I'm not going to say who they are, but we have had 2 confirmed so far.
I was going to ask you, can you give us a hint as to who they are? But
when I tell you, it's going to be one of those exciting moments, because they're really, it's the same level of bands. And we have a 3rd one in the works, which would be a thrill for me too. So we're moving slowly because it would be easy to fill up the bill in a second, but we
Right.
really want to curate it just so, because it's going to be hard to match this first festival's level of bands.
Are you looking to do the same venue again?
We are.
Okay.
We're going to stay at the Middle East. The Middle East downstairs is a Boston classic venue, and it's also a good size. And it also was a good experience for the bands, which is important to me too. There's the sound is very good, and they have not just one sound tech, but they also have a sound tech that just focuses on the stage monitors, which I've never seen that anywhere else, at least not in a venue of this size. So you know that we're going to get a good sound in the audience, and the bands are going to have a good experience on the stage. So we'll stay there.
Great. And I want to say, as somebody who is new to this venue, not having been there before, Middle East downstairs, you descend into darkness, and it definitely added the atmosphere. The music coming out was just great. The drinks were good. So, you know, the bartenders did their job well, and the sound was good. The stage was perfect. It was very intimate, but yet it also looked like it could hold like a good size. I mean, like it was a nice, good size venue. Like it could hold.
It's a good size. The stage is fairly large for a club venue, but you can still get right up to it if you're in the audience. So you still have that close feeling. It's a great place to have a show for sure. I'm really glad we were able to get in there. When we were booking this show for 2022, we wanted to get the space well in advance, but venues hadn't really opened up yet. So we didn't know if we were going to be able to find anything. So we were lucky we got that one, and we're lucky we've already locked it in for next year. Okay. May 6th, 2023, pencil it in. And yeah, so we'll definitely be back there.
Perfect. And then I want to ask you about, and it kind of took me by surprise, and I know it was a separate show. It was Fatal Impact Events, Michelle Shaw doing the Dark Spring Baltimore. So was this something that you guys worked on in conjunction together with the name, and how did that come about?
We talked about it. Yeah, we talked about it in advance. I had been working with, when Golden Apes were coming over for both the 2020 and the 2022 shows, they of course asked about doing a few more shows in the area, and they'd never been to the US before. Wow. So I worked on putting together a little tour for them in the Northeast. Now, I am not a professional booker of any kind, so it was a learning experience, and it was difficult at times to make a connection in venues. But Michelle was someone I met way back early on in 2019 or 2020, and when we were resetting up a tour for 2022, she worked on the Baltimore one, and then as it came together, she asked first Christian in Berlin and then me if she could add on to the Dark Spring family. So I'm hoping that it carries on beyond just this year, and we do see a few more Dark Springs pop up.
That's wonderful. Well,
yeah,
it was a great show. You know, we had a lot of fun. Went up there with Azzy, and they spun. DJ Sinis, DJ Seraph, DJ Brian, like all great people. You and Michael were wonderful hosts and promoters. I don't get paid to talk about this, so just putting that out there. We had a lot of fun, and I would say you should try to check it out if you're in the Northeast. That's all we have time for right now, Nichole, with this, but thank you so much. May 6th, 2023.
Great.
Wow, I can't even believe we're there yet, but you know, I would highly recommend, if you're in the Northeast, or even if you're not in the Northeast, to check out Dark Spring Boston. And yeah, thanks for joining in today.
Thanks, Ian, and thanks for coming to Boston for the show. It was great to have all of you there, and we hope that we see you again. And thanks for having me today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
This ignorance of consciousness, despair.